Well, welcome to another episode of Pound for Pound Boxing Report. I'm your host, Michael. We're back after a week off. We're back to talk more boxing. Joining me live, I'm live from the West Coast, Jacob Rivera, live from the Midwest, Jay Dill, live from the East Coast, Daniel Carpio. What's going on, fellas?
What's going
How's
on?
it going, man?
And hopefully we will have Gail joining us live later on in the show, Gail Falkenthal, Community Digital News. For those who are new to Pound for Pound Boxing Report, Pound for Pound Boxing Report is a live YouTube show as well as a podcast and blog. If you want to find information about Pound for Pound Boxing Report, just go to the blog page, b4pboxingreport.wordpress.com. If you look to the right of the blog page, you will find links to find us all over social media, all over the interwebs, all over the internet. Links to find us on Facebook, YouTube, Tumblr, G+, Twitter. Got a Pinterest board, the link to find us there. The RSS feed if you want to subscribe there. Links to find us on Stitcher, Stitcher Radio, Flipboard, SoundCloud, iTunes, as well as the email address we got up there, p4pboxingrpt@gmail.com. Let's get the show started tonight, fellas, doing a recap of what went down this past weekend. Highlighted by a couple of fights. Andre Ward getting back into the ring, fighting Sullivan Barrera. It kind of had a sad ending to a fight that happened in England. Chris Eubank Jr. and Nick Blackwell, excuse me. Let's focus on Eubank Jr. first in the fight with Nick Blackwell. Eubank Jr. stopping Blackwell in 10. The fight was stopped to severe swelling on the eye. Blackwell later on collapsed in the ring, was taken to the hospital where he's, I believe right now as we're taping the show, he's in an induced coma due to bleeding of the brain, no, bleeding of the skull, I think it was. I reached out to PVC Sports over the weekend. He's been giving me updates. So PSB Sports. He been giving me updates on Saturday from Saturday on about the condition of Nick Blackwell. We all pray for his recovery. Of course, the fight was highlighted by again questions about the safety of the sport, the dangers of the sport. If you watch the fight on YouTube, well, it's been taken down off YouTube now because of what happened, what occurred. But for those who saw it on YouTube, saw it live, you could hear in the corner Eubank Sr., who's doing the corner work of Eubank Jr., was telling him, I believe, around 7, to focus on the body because he saw before everybody else that Nick Blackwell was suffering some danger here. Blackwell was fighting hard, but Eubank Jr. was landing shots basically anytime he wanted, clean, hard shots to the head, particularly with the hooks and the uppercuts.
And then again, your static is messed up.
Oh boy. I'm gonna try to work through that throughout the show and try to fix it on my end. I apologize for those who are listening live or listening via podcast. I apologize. I'm trying to fix some things on my end, some technical issues. I apologize. But yeah, Eubank Sr. was advising his son, basically, don't go for the headshots. Don't go for the headshot because I guess given his experience, he could see what was coming. And unfortunately, yeah, Blackwell, again, he's in the hospital right now due to an induced coma. Questions again about the dangers of the sports in the aftermath. I'll just open up again for anybody who wants to respond. Impressions of the fight, as well as again the questions about the dark side, the dangers of the sweet science, if you will. And anybody can chime in.
Wow. It's bad in a way. It's bad in a way when the corner of your opponent gives more of a damn about your health than your own. Because it was pretty evident when you see that footage that Chris Eubank Sr. was pretty much saying, I don't know why the ref is not stopping it. I don't know why their corner isn't stopping it. And he told him, yeah, it's true, he said it. Focus on the body. Don't try to focus on the head. Granted, Eubanks threw a couple of jabs to the head afterwards, but he mainly tried to focus on the body. But this is a failure mainly to look out on the ref side. This is a failure to look out of it on Blackwell's corner side. We know that we value these guys to be warriors, but we have to value their safety at the same time. And like I said, over the fight, Eubank, if you're just looking at the fight itself, Eubank did what he was supposed to do. He came in prepared. He landed his shots. He landed really nice uppercuts. And he won the fight, but he might have won it at a very, very bad cost. We mentioned Nick Blackwell's now in an induced coma. I think they're going to try to get him out of it within 24 hours. But lately, let's see, we have that. Last year we had the situation with Pritchard Colon, where now Pritchard Colon has to go through 2 surgeries now still to fix the damage that was done to him. And let's not forget Monolenov, what happened to him against Mike Perez. So unfortunately, just another black eye on the sport and a failure in the parties that should be responsible for the fighter to actually evaluate safety.
Joining us right now, as well as Francis and Joe from Ford Boxing, as well as DJ Boxing Live. I want to go to you, Francis, specifically. Open up your mic, please. You were paralegal during the day, but during the evening, you're a fighter, you're a boxer. I mentioned how Eubank Sr., he noticed the danger signs before anybody, just about. From your perspective as a fighter, your assessment of what you were watching and your response to the sensitivity shown by Eubank Sr. Specifically.
I think that the sensitivity shown by Eubank Sr. Deserves so much applause because he really protected Blackwell, from possibly incurring more damage. I can't even imagine if he had taken more shots to the head what the outcome would have been. I admire the sport because I applaud the skill. I love watching the skill. I love watching the attacks, but I also love watching the defense. But the thing that scares me about the sport the most, just in terms of training, is that you never know what's going to happen in an outcome for a sparring session, a fight. Sometimes the outcome seems so predictable. It will be predictable. This person will be easy to beat and whatnot. But I've seen so many fights and I've seen so many of my friends fight that the outcome isn't always predictable. I've seen, cuts across the face and broken ribs and people who get in there with an opponent that they think will be easy to beat, and at the end of the day they're disappointed and disheartened with the outcome. And I don't know Mr. Blackwell. I just feel so awful for him, and this is definitely an outcry for referees and for camps in general, for trainers to keep a closer eye on their fighters. And I've also trained with trainers who I felt as though never really protected me during a sparring session, or I've never actually fought, but I've trained a lot. And when it comes to fighting bigger guys, like I've sparred with bigger guys, 170, 180 pound guys, sometimes they were just wars. And at times I didn't feel protected at all, and I don't think that's beneficial to the fighter at all. I think a big responsibility of the trainer and for the ref also is to protect the fighters. So I just find it just so heartbreaking, and I know that just from the reports that I've read, he's supposed to be out of a coma in 2 to 3 days, but I just feel so bad for him. I just feel so bad for him. But I also applaud Mr. Eubank for his actions in intervening.
Joe?
I agree with all of that. And Nick Blackwell, he did his job. His job as a fighter was to go in and fight, and he fought like a warrior. He gave it everything he had. Now his corner, their number one job is supposed to be to protect the fighter. I don't think they did that, and it's a shame. I hope Nick Blackwell comes out okay. He's a young guy. He's got, you think about, he's got the rest of his life ahead of him, and you'd hate to think that something could happen that permanently affect the rest of his life. And I just hope he comes out okay.
I'm gonna go to you, EJ, since you were over there in the UK. Speak to what Francis and Joe were talking about in terms of the corner of Blackwell and protecting the fighter. Your thoughts on that? And I got a follow-up question as well. Go ahead.
Yeah, Michael, I don't know what's going on with your mic, man.
I'm having technical issues on my end. I'm trying to fix it. It's very choppy, I know.
It's all bad. All right, so I was at the weigh-in. I came to the weigh-in and I saw them bantering, the banter going on from the weigh-in, and you know, I was at one of the interviews from Baylor to Baylor to Ingram Jones. I can hear someone typing in a minute, so I don't know. Someone needs to mute us. I was seeing the interview. It's a good-looking kid, you know, in his prime, healthy British champion. His corner man, by the way, is Gary Lockett, who's a former world contender when against Kelly Pavlik. I don't know if you remember. And him himself went into war with Kelly Pavlik. He never won any round, but he got beat up pretty badly. And basically, it's the two of them. So you have the trainer who's been in some wars himself. You have the young guy, good-looking guy, you know, supposed to look out for him. And he got fans. He's he had a lot of traveling fans. Tyson Fury, big supporting him, and also Billy Joe Saunders was criticizing Eubank. So Eubank is like the villain. So coming into the fight, a lot of pressure on Blackwell to perform out of his skin. He's not really a big puncher. He's a very good boxer. But someone, I don't know who told him, but the promoter was trying to say that the Nick Blackwell needs to walk through fire to get the win. So basically, that's what he did. He followed commands. They told him, to abandon your boxing style, keep your head up, and just walk through the fire. Eventually, he'll get tired. So basically, this is what you saw: him taking punches and taking punches, and then all of a sudden, round 5, 6, blood squirts out of his nose all around his body, and he's getting a beat. And you see, and mostly the thing about us men, we're not squirmish to the thing. But if you look on the fight, you see the women were completely horrified, hands on their mouths. My mum watched it. Yeah, she doesn't watch boxing. She saw it on TV. She turned the channel over and saw it. She's still kind of stunned at what happened there. People knew from round 5 that this needed to be stopped. And this went on. The only one in the corner that had any sense was Chris Eubank, senior, saying this fight, don't know what's wrong with the referee, needs to stop it. Well, you know what? You're not going to stop it to the head. You're going to have to go to the body, yeah, and hopefully the referee will stop the fight. Because, you know, obviously, and then the scorecards, they had it only a two-round fight. I couldn't believe it. I had you at winning every single round. The key things to me, first off, yeah, is the promoter. The promoter was banging on the apron, cheering on his fighter, Nick Blackwell. The corner never said a word about, oh, you know what, you're taking a bit too much punishment. I think we might fall the town. Never even interested, right? Maybe he's had too many hits to head. The British Border Control, yeah, at the time, yeah, obviously the OOCR, no one said anything. The only reason the fight got stopped is because of Chris Eubank Jr. said to his son, ease up, you know, you don't hit him to the head no more, he's going to get hurt, right? And that's what he did. He started playing around with him, right? And this basically put his hands down, and you could see Nick Blackwell couldn't even fight, and obviously the swelling on his face, right? And that's the reason why people think it stopped. No, because the Eubank Jr., he took his foot off the gas. The referee came, stopped the lull in the action, called the doctor over. The doctor rightly said, you know what, nah, this took too much, stopped. And then you saw what happened, even after the fight. They put their hands up and they congratulated. That was fine. They had an advert, come back off the advert. Next thing you know, he's being rushed in a stretcher. And even if everyone thought he'll be all right, now we know he's a coma. He took way too much punishment. And you know what? Yeah, a lot of fights over here, and even in America, we yell, oh, this fight stopped too early. Maybe Brandon Rios and what's his name again? Mike, whatever his name is. I can't remember his name now.
Alvarado.
Alvarado. Yeah, that fight being stopped. So you complaining, oh, the fight was stopped too early, and this and that. But look at Brandon Rios now. I swear he's having slur problems right now. And all because they want to give us action and want to believe that, you know, I'm a hard man. Mayweather said it from time. It's not cool to get hit in your head. But they want to perform and give us. I was just interviewing Ivan Robertson, who's winning wars with Mick Getty about like 2 hours ago, and he was saying, you know what, even though I was fighting him, I wasn't getting hit too much, and he was a strong guy, but obviously it takes a toll. It took a toll on Arturo Getty. These things take a toll in their life, man. So this young guy was in his prime, healthy young guy, and it's sad. I saw him after the weigh-in walking around with his mates and doing what young guys do. I think he was going to a club or something like that before the fight, hanging out with his mates. And now he's not even doing that. He's laying in his bed. It's sad. And Eubank here, himself, the fighter, he's mentally scarred. How's that going to affect him in putting the administering the killing punches on the fighter, worrying about the heads? This is a very big thing in England. This was on terrestrial TV. It wasn't on no pay-per-view. Terrestrial TV. like the whole country is up in arms about boxing right now, and it's ongoing because we want to see what happens. At the minute, he got induced in a coma so he can heal himself. So they put him into a coma, and they was thinking about doing operation on his brain, but the swelling wasn't that large, so the swelling's going down, and obviously they say that he's recovering slowly. That was good, but when he recovers, what recovery are we talking about? Is he be able to talk normally? We know definitely damn sure that the British board are not going to give him his license. There's a lot of things that I blame. Like I said, I blame the British board because they've come out and condemned, saying it wasn't Eubank the reason why the fight was, because everyone knows it was, right? Also, the referee, Vic Laughlin, yeah, the Scottish referee, right? He was just watching it. He wasn't even he wasn't even thinking about stopping the fight.
And let's say for the record, the British board has had his own history going back to the days of Michael Watson and Eubank.
Exactly. That's why Eubank said what he said. And also, the promoter, Mick Hennessy, hasn't come out yet. Banging on the ring apron. Whenever you've seen the promoter banging on the ring apron like a mad dog fan, cheering on the fighter, but you're banging on the apron, but you're not taking the punches. I mean, why has anyone told him that he needs to walk through fire to take punches when he's a very good boxer? He won his fight title from Ryder, yeah, and he outboxed him and took him out. Beautiful performance, by the way, right? Beautiful performance, right? And all of a sudden they said to him, abandon your boxing style and walk through Eubank. Like they didn't believe in his power, and that was the problem. They were trying to make out that Eubank's not authentic. He's got his dad's genes. He's got his chin, and he can hit hard. He's been in the Mayweather camp. He was trained by Floyd Senior. He has a very good pedigree in Las Vegas, in amateur. He's not no mug, and he administered a beating on the poor kid. And it's sad. Like when I watch the fight now, and I watched it like 8 times since, yeah. I'm watching the fight and I'm watching the crowd's reaction. I'm watching the doctor. I'm watching the referee. And now when I watch the fight, it's hard for me to enjoy it. It's very sad. It's very, very sad. And also, Eubank and his son have come out and they've had a press conference. This is only 2 days ago. And the media, all the media are asking these ridiculous questions. They have no idea about boxing. And it's looking bad for us. Well, England right now is a hotbed for world boxing right now. We have the heavyweight champion. We have Anthony Joshua on the rise. James DeGale, Carl Froch is retired, whatever. We've got loads of fighters. We've got the most world champions. And this is a very big blow for British boxing, and I can tell you, it's not looking good, man. It's not looking good. Mick Hennessy's contract, by the way, finished on Channel 5, and Barry McGuigan's contract got renewed. So Barry McGuigan's going to be promoting maybe Carl Frampton, whatever, on Channel 5. So we don't know. I don't know if that contract's going to still be upheld. I don't know if it's terrestrial TV, Channel 5 is still going to be holding it. If that was on Sky Sports, right, that wouldn't happen. On Sky Sports, I can tell you right now, that wouldn't have happened, yeah, because they have fights every week and they would have stopped that. He's only on Channel 5, and like I said to you, it was a mad scenario. And I tell you what, I'm just very sad for Nick Blackwell, his parents, and basically the whole family. I found the trainer Gary Lockett heard he's taking it really bad. He's really he's taking it extremely bad. Mick Hennessy as well, because they kind of blame themselves for it. And it's just a sad all-round thing, and it's nothing good out of it, and my heart goes out to Nick Blackwell and his family, and I hope he recovers, but I don't think he'll be able to box again. So that's my take.
Quick follow-up question, then you can respond as well, Jacob. As a boxing fan, how does fights like this make you feel as a boxing fan? I say that because I was asked about the fight on Twitter, and one of my followers on Twitter was like, I've watched boxing since I was a child, but watching fights like this, it makes me feel conflicted about how I feel about their love for the sport. And I was asked about that, my feelings in the aftermath. And for me, it's like, okay, I still love the sport, I still watch the sport, but I do so understanding that the potential for what we saw Saturday night can happen. So your thoughts about that, EJ, and you can follow up as well, Jacob. Mute your mic, EJ.
Oh, you want me to answer that question, yeah?
Yeah,
I'm conflicted, because listen to this, right? We was discussing it with Beats a bit earlier. So I'll give you an example. Carl Froch, George Groves won. George Groves believes the fight was stopped too early. Everyone criticized the referee. Everyone criticized the referee. Said Howard Foster stopped the fight too early. Now, at the time, we was like, oh yeah, maybe it was stopped too early. George Grove did knock him down, and blah blah. But since then, obviously, George Grove got knocked out in the second fight with Calf Roach. Also, his performance since then, he's been declining. He doesn't look the same, and it looks like I'm not trying to say his speech is a slur, but it looks like the effect of what's happened to him is affected him personally, right? So my thing is this year, like, if Howard Foster let that fight continue, Calf Roach could have really severely hurt him. But that's what the referee's job is. But why are we criticizing the referee for stopping the fight early? So my thing is, like, we want, like, even, I'll give another example. Devin Alexander and Lee Purdy, I don't know if you remember that one. Lee Purdy got pulled out by Darren Barker in that fight. And I was like, why is it stopping too early? Well, we obviously see why. If you keep taking punches and accumulation of punches, it has a serious effect. In the next fight, Lee Purdy had a fight with Bundu, right? And Bundu broke his nose and broke his sinuses in his next fight, and he wasn't able to fight. What about Mayweather and Victor Ortiz? And when he hit him in his chin after the fight, and next fight Jose Lopez broke his chin. I think Mayweather, because of the fight with Mayweather, helped that. So my thing is this: that I'm conflicted because it's like I love watching them fights, and we love watching action, but this is really making me have a really good insight into saying of when you're looking at a fight. What fight needs to be stopped? I mean, how much enjoyment we need to get? For me, right now, I am super sensitive about these guys taking too much fight. If I see a guy taking a 20-punch combination, and not all of them are landing, I'm thinking to myself, maybe he needs to stop the fight because there's even though maybe the guy's not bleeding, he's not responding quick enough. If someone throws a 25, like I'm not saying someone can throw a 20-punch combination. Let's give you an example. They throw a 20-punch unanswered combination. The fight should be stopped. Why? Because at the end of the day, they're not responding. They're not responding to the mechanisms in their brain. So my thing is, I'm conflicted now. I really have to think about what my enjoy. I mean, I love watching Mike Tyson knock a guy out. But what happened to them? We don't know what happened to them victims that Mike Tyson knocked out. No one ever knows. All we know is that Mike Tyson was knocking out these dudes. But I don't know what happened to most of them after. I know what happened to the world champions. Michael Spinks retired, and I don't blame him. He was smart to retire. You see what I'm saying? So, you take one punch too much, and it's lights out. Zab Judah. Right now, Zab Judah is slurring his speeches. Like, have you seen Zab Judah? I remember at the press conference with Danny got with Paulie. He must have walked the opposite way when he was supposed to sit down, and I can see he's blatantly affected from the beating he got from Danny Garcia. Serious, and remember he got knocked out by Costa Azul years ago as well. So
it's crazy as it sounds, but as vicious as the Julian Jackson Harold Graham knockout was in 1990. You would rather have that than what you saw, the sustained beating, than what you saw Saturday night, and in other examples.
Well, Harold Graham, I don't know if you know, a couple of years ago was trying to kill himself.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's at the minute he's in the hospital now with his hernia. So he's some of the knockouts he got. I mean, I think he knocked him out as well. The Philadelphia fighter, Charles Brewer knocked him out as well. He's suffering some of the effects of some of the beatings as well. So this is what I'm saying. I was talking to Ivan Robertson, who was talking about Meldrick Taylor, and I goes to, is Meldrick still fighting? And he goes, no, Meldrick's not fighting again. And he goes, so how is he? He goes, no, he was fine. But Meldrick, what we saw in the HBO, Meldrick looked pretty bad. Meldrick looked pretty bad. So we're conflicted. We love seeing them in their prime. But after they take a good old thrashing, a good old beating, and basically you're never the same again. You could never take a beating how he took and basically function. It's gonna take a while for you to function. So I'm conflicted, and to be honest with you, Michael, I haven't really got a good answer to that question. I'm kind of watching the signs now because it's and remember, people watch that ringside. And casual people watch that and they're devastated. I think a lot of people in England, they're kind of like thinking, you know what, this boxing thing needs to stay on terrestrial TV away from normal TV. It's too bloodthirsty. It's a bit too. That was a bit too much, The kid's in his prime, and he's been taken away too early. And I don't know what's gonna happen to the kid after because he can't make a living in boxing. What's he gonna do with himself? So that's what I've got to say.
I'll go to you, Jacob, and then you can follow up because to EJ's point. Look, man, that wasn't Ben McClellan we saw, where you could kind of sense, given how big of punches those two guys were, how vicious the action was, that it may not turn out well for either fighter, and it really didn't, because Ben suffered damage too. Not compared it to McClellan at all, because we know what it was. But your feelings after the fight, as a fan, first you, Jacob, and then you can follow up as well, Dill.
I mean, again, it doesn't make me less of a fan. The whole situation's sad. I don't want to see anybody get, I know I might talk a lot of shit and say, I want this guy to get knocked out and whatever, but ultimately I don't want anybody to get seriously hurt. I mean, it's a sport. There is an entertainment value for it. There's a science to it, why it's called the sweet science. I don't want anybody to get hurt. But again, I think it's a fine line, because I am one of those fans that like to see that back and forth war and everybody to leave it in the ring, and that's why I want these guys to get paid well, and hopefully they have a backup plan to their careers after boxing. Hopefully that's not the only thing, or they're saving their money, or maybe the boxing organization needs to get together and provide some type of a health care or a retirement plan, for the end of their, for what they give to the sport. But again, a lot of this is hindsight's 20/20, because if Blackwell had, I think Francis said before, we've seen worse cuts and we've seen worse, damages to boxers, and they went on to fight again, and they didn't go into collapse or go into a coma. So the fact that this happened, although sad, I mean, we've seen worse. The real travesty here is that the ref, it's his responsibility to protect the fighters. That should be his number one responsibility. The second thing is the corner. The corner needs to save the fighter from themselves, because we all know those fighters that have tons of heart, and they're not going to give up for anything. In relating to the MMA, you'll have those fighters that they won't tap. They'd rather you knock them out unconscious or choke the life out of them before they tap. And it's just that heart, right? They don't want to give up. There's this kind of stigma around, oh well, if you give up, you're weak, you're soft, or whatever. So I mean, that is kind of attached to the sport. Again, the whole thing's sad. I don't want to see anybody get hurt. But does it make me less of a fan of boxing? No. It's a dangerous sport. Football has dangers to it. I mean, every sport has a little bit of a danger to it. It's a risk that they take. I just wish that maybe boxing as a sport itself should take more recognition in these kind of risks that they're taking, and have a kind of a fallback plan or things that can help these fighters not have to get in these situations too.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so hard. And it's so hard to judge. I mean, look, 1991 Fighter of the Year, Killer King Robert Quiroga, back and forth war. To this day, I still think Killer King won that fight, but that's a discussion for another day. Killer King, only thing he had was some bleeding in the mouth because of a cut inside. Quiroga had cuts all over his eyes. He had to be stitched up. You couldn't predict what was going to happen in that fight. Quiroga was announced the winner. Killer King began vomiting blood, and he passed out right after the decision was announced. And you could just see his legs kind of twitching in the ring. He had to have emergency surgery. Never fought again. And then at the same time, again, the Gaddy War trilogy, back and forth wars, and they were relatively okay. I'll go to you on this one, Dale. Kind of your impressions on what's being discussed here in this conversation in the aftermath of Chris Eubank Jr. and Nick Blackwell. Unmute your mic, please, bro.
The fight should have been stopped in the 7th round, to be quite honest with you. That was brutal to watch, and I'm more disappointed in the trainers. They should have been thrown the towel in. I mean, I'm not trying to be insensitive, but it made me think of that Rocky IV movie with Apollo Creed in that ring. Like, throw the damn towel. God damn it. I mean, that's what I was thinking. But I'm not trying to be funny, because this is serious. This is real life. This is somebody's livelihood. And I think about fights like Davey Moore versus Sugar Ramos, Johnny Owen versus Lupe Pintor.
Yeah.
I think of the Ray Boom Boom Mancini fight. I also think of current fights like Cotto versus Margarita 1. Like Cotto did the right thing when you think about it in hindsight now. Then you think of Bradley versus Provodnikov. I don't care what anybody says. Bradley ain't been the same fighter since that fight. And it took him almost a year to recover his reflexes, his reactionary timing, and his speech was kind of down. I mean, Bradley took a devastating beating in that fight. And the guys that have been unfortunate, the guy with the Middle Eastern name, and then last year with Cologne, and then this year, this year was just, oh my God. Like, anybody with a conscience, why did they not throw the damn towel in? It's just so fucking obvious. And then I was just like, the history of boxing, people could die, and then there's people who could just lose their career off of one fight. And part of the frat hood of boxing is, be competitive, be overbearing, but don't beat them to a point where, they can't fight again because that person might have a family and kids to feed. You just don't beat the living life out of them. You try to look for the ref to call it off for their corner. But it was no conscience from neither side until it was too late. And even the fucking promoter, like you said, it was just egregious. And like EJ said, it's a big blow to the sport in general. I'm just not going to say for the UK, but the sport in general. That's how I represent boxing. We all won if we love the sport. And I don't know what else to say about it. It's still shockwave to me about this.
EJ was mentioning how this is on terrestrial television over in England. For those who don't know, that's the equivalent of network television here. I mean, I can only imagine the reaction if something like this would have happened on a PBC card or even an HBO card.
I tell you what, I forgot to say. What happened is that this is how bad the referee was, right? Chris Eubank Senior, was banging on the ring apron, on the ring mat, saying the referee should stop the fight from round 6, right? Banging on the ring. The referee said, if you keep doing that, I'm gonna eject you from the building. Can you imagine that? Imagine that. If he ejected him from the building, what would have happened? It would have been worse. So what he did, he stopped banging on the ring mat, and then he just told his son to cool down. Can you imagine? He was banging on the ring mat, telling them, screaming at the referee to stop the fight, and they wouldn't stop the fight then. That is just terrible. That's how bad it was. That's why a lot of people are coming out and say Eubank. A lot of people in the trade over here are saying that Eubank and his son, they saved that boy's life. But the British board are coming out saying, no, he didn't. It was just a strategy, and they're coming out and spin because they have to do that because the British board is still paying money from what happened to Michael Watson.
Again.
Because of what happened to Michael Watson,
right,
all the procedures have been put. But what's happened is that it's still a human error. Even though they've got all these procedures with the doctors and they need to go to the right doctors, what's happened is that it's a human error that people are getting involved. And remember, we've got this whole thing about, always give the champion another time. Just stop it. Always give a champion. Listen, if it's getting clearly outpointed, and even in amateurs, they're that 15-point system. If someone had 15 points, they were deemed unworthy to continue. And that's what it should be with the pro game. Now they've took the headgear off the amateurs, and they're bringing pros in there. Listen, if you think it's happening in the pro game, be warned, in amateurs that can happen. If you've got a serious pro coming down to fight amateur, hey, this is very dangerous. Our sport might be, it might go the way of the dinosaurs. I'm just saying, but
the level of insensitivity by the British board.
Yeah.
Watson Eubank 2, Ben McClellan, Paul Engel, what's the other guy? Oliver, I think his name was. And there have been other lesser fights at the domestic level. All got high attention over there, particularly the Watson Eubank 2 card, the Ben McClellan card, and the Paul Engel fight with Botille. Given all of that, given all the attention it got, just there. And particularly Ben McClellan and Watson Eubank too, all over. I mean, hell, let me go off on my little bit of rant here. I remember watching Ben McClellan was on tape delay on Showtime here in the States. I was overjoyed. I was just jumping up and down at the result, and Ben pulled it off. I turned on Sports Center. I kid you not, the lead story that night, American boxer, former middleweight champion Gerald McClellan is in the hospital having emergency surgery as a result of that. So given how the attention it got there, the level of sensitivity now, and the reaction that you're reporting now towards Eubank Sr., given what he went through, it's astounding. I don't get it.
He was the only one. He was the only one to know what was going to happen. He said, continue taking punches. This kid's going to get really seriously hurt, and that's what happened. I mean, I'm telling you, if you see that Nick Blackwell, the kid, this is what I'm trying to say because I remember how he looked, great shape, good-looking kid. He was well polite, everything. Now you're going to see him after what's happened to him, because obviously he's going to be in induced coma. So when he comes out of the coma, is he going to be able to speak properly? Is he going to be able to function properly? That's going to make it worse, man. That's going to just kill it, bro. If kids, because remember, boxing's done well in this country. We've got a lot of gold medalists. The funding we have over here for the amateurs like Joshua, Audley Harrison, Luke Campbell, all these guys, you think the people are going to be funding that when you bloodthirsty, if they're sending kids over to get beat up like that? It's not going to happen. There's a lot of serious things happening, from this one thing, because, we're looking back at the sport again, he's like, this is pretty bad. People are actually thinking, there actually is a campaign right now to ban headshots in boxing in England. Can you imagine that? Like, you're not allowed to hit to the head in boxing. You can box, but you can't hit to the head. It's getting ridiculous. Seriously.
Yeah. I'm not even going to ask whether Eubank Jr. will be the same. One, because he can't be given that, and two, I think it would be a little bit insensitive given what happened to Blackwell. So I will just sum up the discussion here and just say again, I'll just speak on behalf of everybody that our prayers go out to Nick Blackwell, and we hope he makes a full recovery. I know there's a hashtag prayers for Blackwell on Twitter. Check that out. Use the hashtag as much as you can, because our thoughts are at this time are with Nick Blackwell, his family, and his loved one, and hope that he recovers from this fully. I know it's tough to go up from that sad note to talk about other boxing news, but we must. I want to move from that to talk what went down in Oakland last Saturday. Andre Ward coming back into the ring, getting a 12-round win over Sullivan Barrera. On the undercard of that, Joseph Diaz defeating Jayson Velez. I want to talk Ward, Sullivan Barrera first. Look, for me, Ward, he won every round decisively. He dominated as a lot of us thought he would. I thought there may be some rust. There was, in my opinion. But Ward, he did what he usually does. To me, he shows he's his dominant self. To me, I still have a number one on my pound-for-pound list. I know a lot of people disagree. I'm in a minority on that. I'm willing to take that. I'll go to you again, Francis and Joe. Your impressions on what went down Saturday night at the Oracle.
I thought Ward looked impressive. I thought he looked very impressive, and he did great at what he usually does, which is just continue on as a tactical defensive technician. He did wonderful, landing those left hooks all night. I don't think that Barrera gave him much competition, and I think Ward could have easily finished him early. I wish he had been a little bit more aggressive, but overall I was very impressed with his performance.
Yeah, I thought Ward looked good. And he's not as sharp as he was years ago when he was fighting more often and in his prime, but I still think he looked pretty good. I thought he going up in weight, he wasn't quite moving around, wasn't quite as quick as I remember. I don't know if that was from time off or getting older, but I thought he looked pretty good from a guy who really only fought 3 times in 4 years. I think I thought he looked good. I don't think he's quite sharp enough yet. to fight Kovalev. If I was him, I'd probably take one more tune-up fight before getting in there with Kovalev. But all in all, I thought Ward looked pretty good.
Well, I'm sorry, I was muted. I'm sorry. I'll go to you, Daniel, then you can follow up, Dale. Your thoughts on Ward and his performance. How did he look in Sullivan Barrera last Saturday? First Daniel, then you, Dale.
It was a typical Andre Ward performance. If you look at it, he did precise punching. He showed off a little bit of that right hand. Now that he has it, it's a shoulder surgery, and he shows the left hook is still as good as ever. He did what he normally does. He neutralized his opponent. He frustrated his opponent. And there was a couple of dirty shots in there. Like I think it was between the 4th and 5th round, Ward threw a punch clearly after the bell, and then I think the 11th round was what happened with the low blow that you could hear on the TV. But overall, it was a good fight for Ward. It showed that it might have slowed down a little bit, but it might just be a combination of the age and the fact that he's got 8 more pounds on him now. 7 or 8 more pounds on him as a light heavyweight. So maybe him still adjusting to the weight in general, but he showed that he's still, in essence, still Andre Ward. He's still one of the best boxers in the world. Like I said, you can legitimately have a debate whether he's going to be number one pound for pound in the future, especially now with Floyd gone. But it was a good overall fight. The person I feel probably most conflicted about, and I said this on my show, was Kathy Duva. Because if Sullivan Barrera won, she would be happy because it was her guy, but it would have ruined the best chance of Sergey Kovalev have for pay-per-view.
She's not that sad about that because she wants to fight for Kovalev too at the end of the day. So please. I'll go to you, Dill, and then you, Jacob. Your impressions on Ward, how he looked. Did you see a little rust? And more importantly, moving forward, what kind of things would you like? What kind of improvements, I should say, would you like to see from Andre Ward leading up until the fight with Kovalev, which is more than likely to happen end of this year, early next year?
Well, as far as the performance, yes, he was dominant to a certain extent. I feel like there were some rounds where they were competitive, but Ward edged out most of them. I had Barrera win like possibly 2 to 3 rounds in that fight. I mean, it's far-fetching if you give him 4, but I give him 3. And I must make this claim and this known, and this is shots fired. People that said that Andre Ward got a gift decision in this fight they need to be medically evaluated or something.
What?
Yeah.
What the heck?
Who said this?
Precise presenter, man.
The hell?
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, I left that alone.
Nah, son.
Yeah, but
let me stop. I'm gonna leave that alone. Proceed.
Back to boxing, right? So, yeah, what I saw in that fight, I saw some rounds where Ward wasn't sharp offensively, and he was kind of gun-shy at letting the right hand go. I mean, there was plenty of opportunities to let that right hand go, but he did do some good body work. He did utilize his physicality. He did wear Barrera down, but his speed, despite people saying him being not as fast or sharp, his speed kind of made Barrera a bit honest and a bit gun-shy. He took away the range. It's hard to locate your range with Ward. And Ward had great center of gravity in the fight. Now, he did get jabbed a lot in that fight. The jab was the consistent punch that was landing on him. And he did get hit with good body shots against Barrera. But overall, despite Barrera being a bit competitive, Barrera didn't set out his promise of TKO and knocking out Ward in the 9th round. Barrera didn't look like he even believed he could win this fight. And Abel Sanchez really didn't give him a constructive game plan from what I see. And Andre Ward just, was the better craftsman, the guy that was beating the other guy to the punch. Offensively, he needs to sharpen up a little bit more. I saw some stamina issues later on in the fight. He was breathing pretty hard for my taste. The more he was breathing hard, the more he was getting hit with some power shots, but luckily he made sure them shots didn't have too much mustard, so he rolled with the punches. But overall, Ward still looked dominant in that fight. His ring generalship, ring awareness, and his skill set in general pretty much won that fight, especially since he could fight outside, inside, and mid-range. And yes, he needs another fight before he fights Kovalev. I think he has the style that could be a kryptonite to Kovalev, to be quite honest with you. But he needs to, sharpen up on his offense and let the right hand go. And sometimes he was a bit wild throwing that left hook. But overall, I enjoyed the fight. SOG is always good for the sport to watch because we need somebody who's not just only skilled but dominant, because it makes people want to say we got some dominant fighters in boxing other than, some knockout artists, and people don't know if that fighter could go 12 rounds in a tough fight. But, guys like Ward are a special thing to watch. Sometimes they might not fight the fight that make you want to remember a fight, but the pure boxing fans, they would just love a guy like him because he's just a boxing orgasm gift to a golden fan. So that's all I got to say.
Join us right now, Kell Brook with all communities. Thanks for joining us. And again, I apologize if I sound a little bit choppy here. She's back from the Orlando Toledo Vargas press conference. Just got off the train from there. So thank you again for joining us. I'm going to you, EJ, and then you, Jacob, and then we can get into this conversation. Your thoughts on Ward and how he looked Saturday night, EJ, then you can follow Jacob. Unmute your mic, EJ.
Oh yeah. Like I'll be honest with you, I watched that fight, but like I was still shook up from what I saw and what I heard about Eubanks and thing. But I did watch it. I did watch it, and I feel like Ward, like a lot of people feel like he looked really good, and remember he's just moving up to that weight, even though he did catch a medal in that weight in the amateurs. I felt like Ward kind of left something behind, and to kind of tempt Kovalev into the fight. Like, for me, I feel that if Kovalev wants to have the fight, he should have it now. If people are going to wait for Ward to get better, I don't think it's a good idea. If Kovalev wants to fight, that fight should happen ASAP. The spin that Abel Sanchez said after the fight, my guy's only had a few fights and he's going to get better. And so now I think Phife Dawg, I think they were looking for Sullivan Barrera to really dent Andre Ward. So when Kovalev in there, Kovalev can finish him off. And it never happened. Ward looked pretty good. He was just basically just going through the motions. He could have been better. But I think he's just holding it back. And I think, to be honest with you, I think the fight should happen next. I don't think you should wait for another guy. Ward's been inactive, and to be honest, let's see what it is, man. Let's see if Ward would bring his A game. But he had a cut, so we'll see. But Stephen Curry was happy. Oakland was happy. Ward put on a performance, and it was good, man. Like, everyone was happy. Rock Nation's happy. But I feel like this is just my opinion. I think they should go for Kovalev. Kovalev's getting old, man. Why were we waiting for?
I want to see Ward at his absolute best.
No, he's never gonna be at his best, because his best was left how many years ago in dormant when he was in the Super 6 and after. So
you think he's kind of past his prime?
No, I don't think he's past his prime, but I don't think he can get. I just think like he wasn't showing everything what he normally does, because I was watching his fights with Frotch and stuff when he was in his game, when he was all tuned up. I think he needs to. But when he beat up Paul Smith, I could see he looked like he was just finding himself. So I think that this fight with Sullivan Barrera was a big guy. I think he was just trying out things. But I think with Kovalev, I think he had enough to give Kovalev trouble if they fight. I still think right now, but his resume still says that. I don't think you should wait around. If you're Kovalev, you should try and catch Ward in his next fight now. I wouldn't let Ward have another fight, but that's just my opinion, And it was a good performance by Ward. But like I said, I think he was holding back. and not looking spectacular. I think Kathy Duva's face at the end in the press conference said, "Oh, she looking horrified." She looking horrified knowing that a guy's gonna go in there, gonna have to go in there against this guy, and that's basically her last fighter. All of her fighters have gone. That's her last championship fighter. You know, if he goes, what happens? What does she go? So that's my take.
Your thoughts, Jacob?
Yeah, I mean, I thought Ward looked very impressive. He was quick. He was accurate with his punching. He showed a little bit of his power. You know, he did knock down Barrera with a clean shot. And I think he was trying to make a statement by, you know, kind of standing his ground and not moving around as much. And you know, Kovalev being at the side of the ring there, I mean, you know, it was the time to make a statement. I do think that Barrera did have, you know, not the greatest game plan. He was saying he was going to be aggressive and come at Ward, and I thought that was his best shot, was to go at Ward and hopefully catch him cold and just really, you know, throw the volume punches and try to get catch him when he's kind of ring rust. Ward did get hit more than I think that he does normally, so that is a little bit of a concern in the sense that he's going to be going against, you know, if he does fight Kovalev next or in 2 fights, you know, Kovalev's shots are going to be a lot harder than Barrera's shots. And if he lands one of those clean shots, I mean, it's going to possibly do some good damage on him, even though he has a solid beard. But I was impressed with Ward. It was a solid win. You know, he'll probably make it up on my pound for pound list now. I couldn't put him on there for the Smith fight because that was, to me, garbage fight. But you know, he did what he was supposed to do. He was smart. I did have one other concern though, is that he did look like, I think it was like the 9th or 10th round, he looked like something was wrong, or he had a little bit of a concern. I think Dill mentioned it earlier, like maybe he was tired or something like that, but he looked a little out of it, or something didn't look right. So I hope, you know, I don't know. I don't know if he was disappointed in his performance. I know he gave himself like a B-, but you know, I'm excited that he's back, and hopefully we get to see him again real soon, and we don't see the long layoffs.
Yeah, let's hope so. Gail, since you joined us late, your impressions on what went down with Adrien Broner is doing with Barrera?
Well, I'm always amazed how the guy just never seems to accumulate the kind of rust most other fighters do. He really comes in well prepared. You know, he does look like he really hasn't had the lengthy layoffs that go in between his fights. I mean, he easily goes 6, 9, 12, 15, 18 months between fights, and he's still in command. He's still in good shape. He's so damned accurate, and he's so slippery. He could slip a punch like nobody's business. He knows exactly just how many inches to, you know, draw away. He's one of those guys. It's just it's a masterful skill, and I so appreciate it. It's probably not the average fan's thrill in a fight, but when I see a guy like that slip a punch, you know, with seemingly no effort, it's amazing. But he's got to get in the ring more. You know, he is not putting fans in the seats. A guy of this caliber, you know, even if he isn't an offensive fighter, should be putting fans in the seats. Announced attendance was 9,800. Remember, announced attendance doesn't mean tickets sold, and a lot of those tickets were given away or bundled, and you know, that's not right. You know, by contrast, I just came from the Vargas-Salido news conference, and tickets for that fight at StubHub are selling at a record pace for that venue ever. That's the kind of fight you put together that fans get excited about. And there isn't even an undercard yet of any kind put together. People just know those guys are going to get in the ring. It's going to be a fight of the year candidate, and they're snatching tickets so they can't buy them fast enough. You know, if Andre Ward had better managed his career and not waited until he had the perfect situation every single time, you know, he'd be selling tickets like that, and he's not. He isn't going to the Kovalev fight is not going to be next. Kathy Duva and Sergey Kovalev have already made really clear he is going to have another fight because he isn't going to wait around for Ward to make up his mind. So they've booked a tune-up fight in Russia. They'll put some, poor guy who needs a paycheck in front of him and let his home country fans see him, which, is a good thing for him to do. So Ward needs to do something in between. Who it'll be. He could fight somebody like Eliader Alvarez. I'd like to see him fight somebody like Artur Beterbiev. I don't know if Beterbiev's ready for that, but hell, throw him in there. Young, strong guy, give him a chance. But there will be another fight, at least for Kovalev, before there's a Ward-Kovalev fight. And if Ward's smart, there'll be at least one more fight. Now, the other option for him, which is very interesting, I spoke with him on the pre-fight conference call a few days prior to the fight. And I asked him about the Olympics and the prospect of adding professionals into the Olympics. Since he is our last male American gold medalist, I really wanted to know what he had to say. And I asked him straight out, would you ever consider it? He did not say no. He said it was interesting, that he wanted to know more about it. Maybe his tune-up fight is the Olympic Games. And wouldn't that be a hell of a thing? And I think that if the pros are allowed in, that is not outside the realm of possibility. It's the right time. It would be in August, mid-August, when he'd fight. It's about right.
Mm-hmm. Any thoughts on that? To what Gail was just mentioning? Anybody want to respond to that?
You know what? I think that'd be a great idea for Ward because Gail's right. He needs to be more active. And the Olympics, the timing fits right in. End of the summer, he gets another fight in the Olympics, and then end of the year, he's ready for Kovalev.
Yeah, the NBC hype machine would be behind him. He'd have the opportunity to win a second gold medal. And what would be so amazing about that is he would be the first male American Olympic boxer to win a gold medal after his last one. Nobody's won one since then, which is incredible. That was 2004. So it's been a long drought. We're also going to have a female double gold medalist as well. So he better get in there and hope his fight's before hers, or he won't get to say he's the two-timer before her.
And you're talking about Clarissa
but
Shields.
It's a good fight for him. I mean, it's the right style for him. He would handle the Olympic style very well, and he's at a weight class where he isn't going to step way out of his weight, because the Olympic weights, there's only 10 weight classes, and in some of the sort of middle divisions, they're very different. So you end up with guys fighting much bigger than they're used to, and it could be a problem. But his weight, he's going to be fine. He also said in this call that he was so glad to be at light heavyweight because he had really struggled diet-wise, and he said he was so happy he got to eat. I mean, he was gleeful over the fact he was getting to eat before this fight. So, I think it's not a bad idea.
I don't like that idea. I'd rather him stay in the pros and fight maybe like a Gonzalez or a Shabransky. Because the reason for that is if he doesn't perform at the Olympics or something happens, I think that kind of the bloom is off the rose at that point. But also additionally, I don't know. I mean, Olympic boxing and professional boxing is completely different. And if he's going to fight Kovalev right after that, I'd rather him get another fight at this light heavyweight against a tough opponent, so that he can prepare for the Kovalev and not take possibly I'm not going to say it's a step backwards, but maybe it's a lateral move versus kind of moving up.
Let's not forget the thing about it is, what are the sanctioning bodies going to do? WBC's already made their stance pretty clear on that. They pretty much said any fighter that's ranked in their top 15 and goes to the Olympics will no longer fight for their belts. If the WBA, the WBO, and the IBF take a similar stance, that shows out Ward, because that kills a Kovalev fight immediately.
Right. Well, but they haven't yet. So.
Yeah.
But I mean, this was based on the answer he gave me, which I think the WBC had already spoken out. I was just surprised that not only did he not slam the door, he stood right in the doorway with the question.
And you mentioned we're about to have a women's double gold medalist. Of course, you're talking Clarissa Shields, who's the clear favorite in Rio in her division.
Yeah, she's in the middleweight division for the women. The women only have 3 divisions in the Olympics, and I mean, ever since her Olympic win, she has mowed through one opponent after the other, and she's finally getting some decent sponsorship. NBC is going to pay a little more attention to her this time, and I see real good things happening for her, finally. And there is some professional interest with her, and Lou DiBella is sniffing around her with great seriousness. So, we may actually see a women's professional boxer, getting a major push from top-line promoters. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Lou seems very committed to putting women on his cards. He puts them on the undercards regularly. So does Tom Woffler, for that matter, at K2. And eventually, we're going to see a women's bout hit major television as a swing, probably a swing fight. And it'd be great if it was Clarissa.
Before we move on, I want your thoughts on the Chris Eubank Jr. Nick Blackwell fight, Gil. It was a pretty lengthy discussion about, to EJ's points, he was talking about the comedy of errors and the insensitivity of the British Boxing Board, the comedy of errors within Blackwell's corner, and how Eubank Sr. was astute enough to see what was happening and instructing his son to not go for his shots anymore. As we also talked about the impressions that left us as boxing fans. So, your thoughts, your view of what went down during that fight, as well as the aftermath.
This fight is the reason why no fan should get hot and bothered ever about a referee stopping a fight too early. There's really no such thing. Yeah, there are fights where the fighters complain they could have gone on, and the fans say, oh, he still had a chance. This is the kind of fight and the kind of outcome that happens when everyone decides, well, we'll just let it go a little longer. Well, we'll just let it go a little longer. No. Once you get past the halfway point of a fight, or the point of a fight where the losing combatant needs a knockout and is clearly not capable of it, there needs to be some kind of automatic rule to stop the fight, and that would have helped in this case easily. You also have to do some serious looks afterward at all the parties involved, decide whether sanctions are necessary. Certain people who didn't act quickly enough or in the right way should be punished, should be held up as an example. And you do the after-action report and decide, do we need to change some things? Do we need to put in stronger regulations? Because let me tell you, folks, there are a lot of people who are coming for this sport who don't like what's going on, who want to take advantage of the concerns many people have over what is going on with the NFL and CTE. And if you have followed coverage in the New York Times over the last 6 to 8 months, there are entities gunning for this sport, and they cannot see things like Eubank's Blackwell go on, because that's going to be exhibit number 1 when they decide they're going to try to shut this stuff down. Just a horrible situation, and we all have to do some soul searching, as people who cover boxing, people who are fans. They all need to express their concerns and make it clear they will not be upset if we put in some stricter controls. They're absolutely necessary for the fighters when you've got an incompetent corner that lets it go on too long. And a referee. I mean, where was the referee? That's a problem. And there are certain offenses in boxing I think should be one strike. I really don't know who it is who should get that strike in this case, but it seems like one should be doled out here somewhere.
Yeah, that was EJ was mentioning earlier. I understand his outrage because there were so many people. I know hindsight is 20/20, but to EJ's point, while he was watching the bout, there were things that you could obviously see that was a muck, that was wrong, that could have been done to prevent this from happening. So I'm right along.
Referees and the officials and the corners, they're human beings, and they know how the fans react, and they know what kind of heat they get when the fans perceive that a fight's been stopped, again, too early. And we as fans need to knock that off and stop going after referees and corners who stop fights. We have to trust they're right there, they see what's going on, and back them up. We've got to have their back when they do that. We're part of the problem if we don't.
Okay, I'm move on. I'm a little bit pressed for time here, so I'm going to go to Joe and Francis here specifically and talk about the Jayson Velez, the fight on the undercard of Sullivan Barrera as Diaz's win over Jayson Velez. Your thoughts on how I think HBO was a little bit going too far with making comparisons with Pacquiao. But Diaz, he's a good-looking prospect. He's a guy who's worthy of keeping an eye on moving forward. Francis and Joe from Full Boxing, that's directed towards you.
I thought Jojo Diaz looked amazing. He's my new favorite southpaw because he brings so much technical skill to the table, and there's just so many different strategies that he incorporates into his game that makes him my new favorite southpaw. The first thing being that he leads a lot with his left hand, and I love that because as a southpaw, it gets predictable to just lead with your right hand as your jab, and leading with your left hand is actually very effective, and then following it up with that hook to the body, it was just amazing, beautiful. I loved his tactics on the inside. He landed some very, very powerful shots inside, including the uppercuts. And I think that Velez, he brought a very similar skill set to the table also, but I don't think that he had the power that Diaz had. In terms of a comparison between Diaz and Pacquiao, there might be a slight comparison, but I think that Diaz's placement of punches is way more precise. I think he just has a more methodical analysis of where he places those punches. Pacquiao, it's more high risk, high reward. I don't know, more flurrying. Like he'll just throw 7, 8, 9, punch combinations, and I think whatever lands. I don't think his strength is the placement of the punches, but I think that's where Jojo Diaz shines. And I'm very impressed with him, and hope to see him face maybe Lomachenko or Leo Santa Cruz one day for sure.
Yeah, I like Diaz. I think he looked good against Velez. I think, to me, he physically looks like a 12-year-old kid. He's got such a baby face, but he's a pretty skilled fighter. I think he has a real high ceiling. I think he's got a long way to go, though. One of which I think he's got to improve on his power. But he's got the skill set, and if he can stay on the right path, I think he can turn into something pretty special.
The other thing that I really liked about him, too, was that he would measure his distance with the jab. And what he would do is he would measure his distance, but at the same time kind of shove his glove in front of his opponent's face. And that's very elusive. It really kind of blocks the vision and makes it distracting. And that sets him up perfectly for that beautiful overhand left. So that was another thing that I really liked about Diaz that I didn't mention before. But I applaud Diaz for his performance on Saturday night. I think he's on his way to being a star.
I'll be my EJ because this next question is more to you. We're talking Kell Brook here. I mean, look, he did what everybody knew what he was going to do. That was blow Bizier out. The question now is, because it's time for Kell Brook to fight somebody really a big fight next. The question is, and I don't know if your sources are saying anything, will we see it? because it's time for playing around with mandatories and whatever. The welterweight division is very good. There are fighters out there for him to fight. Will Eddie Hearn do the necessary things to make sure we see Kell Brook in with the big dogs at 147?
Well, they're trying to. They want to, but I'll be honest with you, man. That was my whole thing, Michael, criticizing Kell Brook. It wasn't his performance. It was because I knew this was going to happen. Eddie Hearn's a chartered accountant, and they wanted to get their money back from Kell Brook. And his last fight wasn't on box office, and silly enough that I actually put money down on Bizier to win the fight. I was convinced by Scorsese. He made me believe that.
Do I need to play that noise? Do I need to play the Price is Right noise for you for making that bet?
Nah, you don't listen. Nah, don't do no. But what I'm saying, listen, if I get it, all of you guys need to get it on Tyson Fury. Anyway.
Oh, God, I'm going there again. Okay.
Okay, see, there you go. Right, but what I'm saying is this, yeah? No, the style of fighting, I thought it would give him trouble, but obviously it wasn't. And anyway, the better guy won. But Kell Brook, this is my criticism with Kell Brook, yeah? Like, it's just not, I don't know, man. Like, Eddie Hearn, they're not concerned with fighting the best fighters, man. They're just not, man. They're just gonna carry on doing this stupid, we want to fight the best and all these excuses, and this is what's gonna happen. And this is terrible. You know, Kell Brook, to me, is one of the best welterweights in the country, and he deserves to fight one of the best over here in America, you know. And that's why I said he should have gave Sean Porter a rematch. But we will see. The jury's out with Kell Brook. At least I don't need to criticize him more. At least you knew what I was talking about now. So I'm just going to sit like the rest of you guys and see what happens. So for me, I'm just going to find out what happens. So I'm not really going to go in. Eddie Hearn said he's going to do stuff. Said he's going to do this. But saying it's on one thing and doing another is another thing. So we'll see.
I'm going to open it up here for everybody quickly. I mean, the popular name in the aftermath of this fight was a fight against Danny Garcia. I wouldn't mind him fighting the winner of Thurman and Porter. I wouldn't mind him fighting the winner of Bradley and Pacquiao, particularly if it's Bradley, because I don't know if Pacquiao will fight him. If Aaron will put him in the ring with Brook. That's just my personal opinion. We want the big fight with Kell Brook now. Not now, but right down now. Who for anybody here? Who do you see it being that opponent be?
Garcia. I said it before. I said Garcia. I mean, Amir Khan, he has his heart on for Amir Khan. He needs to get over it and further his career. You know, go try to unify the belts. You know, Amir Khan was the #1 mandatory, right, for the Garcia's belt. He's fighting Canelo now. That would be the perfect fight for Kell Brook.
I would say the winner of Thurman Porter, because unfortunately, I think Danny Garcia's eyeing the winner of Ortiz Berto 2 as his opponent. But either way, if you get a matchup, you either get a rematch with Sean Porter, who hopefully has now learned a couple of things from his fight with Brook, and probably makes not headhunt as much and actually focus a little bit more to the body. And let's be frank, Keith Thurman would need that fight as much as Kell Brook would need that fight.
Yeah.
I agree. Sign me on for that one. I think the winner of Thurman Porter makes enormous sense, and it doesn't even matter who it is. Both are good opponents for Kell Brook.
If that fight happens, though, we're not even sure that Thurman Porter is going to happen.
Well, in theory, let's play along for now.
EJ, with the UK fans contingent have any interest of bringing Jesse Vargas over to fight Brook?
We want to see that. Like, we don't care, man. I was talking to Brandon Bailey. I said, Brandon Bailey, what about you coming over to fight Kell Brook? He's got to fight in Korea. As far as he's concerned, he's the most scared guy in the division. No one wants to fight him. Apparently, Errol Spence people offered him a fight, and they declined. Sean Porter's people offered a fight when one of Sean Porter's fighters wasn't there, and they changed their mind. I'd like to see that fight, unify the belts, man. I'd like to see that. Will they do it? I don't know. You know, I don't know. Jesse Vargas probably feels like he's the A side. They should come over, but Kell should come over to America, man. Should come out. You know, he's been there. Come over and fight. James DeGale was willing to do it. He'd go to Canada. You know, he'll go to America. James DeGale was willing to do that. So he's gonna have to come out of the comfort zone and fight these big fights because they're there, and you know, you guys want to see him. So I don't have to say anything about Kell Brook. At this point onwards, you guys are going to do all the criticizing. Right? You understand now. You understand now why I gave him the criticism. And with Wilder and Povetkin, you know he's trying to make that fight. So you know, things have changed slightly. You know, just a little bit.
Absolutely. Let's talk about some news here. The saga of Adrien Broner got warrants as we close on his upcoming fight tomorrow night.
Do we have to?
I mean, look, this is so saga and drama filled. He's going back and forth with Floyd. Look, again, I've said I have my issues with Floyd, but in this debate, Floyd is right. All Floyd is essentially saying, look what I've been through. I've grown up. I've matured. You don't need to be acting like a damn fool out here. Learn from my experience. So this is just for anybody. The saga of Adrien Broner. Anybody want to comment on this?
You know, today, as I'm covering two guys who give their all, who the fans love, who are exactly the kind of guys you want to hold up as ambassadors for the sport. You know, meanwhile, we've got this douchebag, you know, getting money for a fight. So here I am thinking, all right, you know, I should, in theory, as this being the biggest fight of this weekend, since nobody wants to go up against the NCAA tournament, you know, there's hardly anything else going on. Do I write about this guy? Do I give him any publicity because he doesn't deserve it? You know, do I use the column to blast him from one end to the other, which is what I do? Or, you know, do I refuse to give him any more publicity and damn him with my silence? You know, they're both bad choices. He's just such a bad actor. He's, you know, if he was just a flat-out jerk with no talent, it would be one thing. The man has tremendous natural skills, and he's completely wasted the opportunity given to him by his idiocy. He's been, you know, it's bad enough that he's that stupid, but he's not surrounded himself with anybody who can straighten him out. You know, and it's a double whammy. He's always had problems making weight. I don't give a shit what weight class it was. He blows through it. He has no discipline whatsoever. And, you know, the little mean girl rant video that he posted to Floyd, I can't even begin to explain that. I mean, seriously, little girls in middle school have more sense than that. I can't even begin to explain what that was about.
It's about burgers.
Oh man!
It's about burgers. I like what Daniel said here on our private chat.
Oh, about bail bonds.
About bail bonds.
About bail bonds.
And here's the thing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. When it came to what happened in the ring, this is the biggest difference between Floyd and Broner, in my opinion. Floyd never cut no shorts when it came to the sport. He was always disciplined. There was always a level of maturity in terms of what he did in the ring. He always applied his craft. He always stayed disciplined. In short, he didn't fuck around. He tended to business when he needed to tend to business. In the ring and even out of the ring in terms of preparation, nothing came above that. Yeah, you could say, well, Floyd was doing this and Floyd was doing that, and outside the ring, and I can understand some of the issues with that, absolutely. But when it came to applying his craft, no one in his time did it like this dude, and Adrien Broner can't get through that. He can't understand that. He's too thick-headed. He's too arrogant. He thinks he knows it all, and he just doesn't.
Yeah, that's because of Floyd's influence on him, though. The thing is what it is, yeah. To me,
but the thing is, he wasn't paying attention, though, EJ. He was watching and not paying attention. There's a difference.
Yeah, the thing, he's caught Floyd at the tail end of his career. Floyd is reaping the benefits, and Adrien Broner is doing the same thing. If Adrien Broner stayed at lightweight, I always say that lightweight. he would have been a force, man. He would have been like, he looked like he was going to be one of these guys that, you know, you hated him, but he was a real guy at lightweight, and he jumped to welterweight, and we already know what happened, so I'm not going to get into that. But Adrien Broner is influenced by Floyd in such a way that basically he idolized Floyd, and he does what Floyd does. The money, where did he get that from? You know, Floyd has to take responsibility in some of Adrien Broner's reactions, because Adrien Broner doesn't listen to his trainer no more. He don't listen to Eddie's father no more. All he cares about what Floyd does. He's, like Gail said, he's stalking Floyd. He had that little thing. Floyd doesn't call me no more. On social media, blowing him up on social media. Even at the weigh-in, where's Floyd at? You don't call Mayweather promotion. You call it Hate-Weather promotions. And you know what? Maybe Floyd have a point, but you know what? End of the day, Adrien Broner is a grown-ass man. Has to take responsibility.
Yeah, that's my thing. He has to have some accountability for him.
Yeah, exactly. He's got a lure after him and stuff like that. But if you see Floyd saying he's big brother, and Floyd, I'm not saying Floyd led him astray, but like, I don't know what to do with him no more, man. I just put my hands up on this. Wow, you know. And I actually got Ashley Theophane. By the way, Ashley Theophane will probably win by a split decision against Adrien Broner. I can see it happening and becoming a WBA champion.
I mean, Raging Bay.
You know what? It's the circumstances. It's not because of the talent or not. It's the circumstances. It's the circumstances. This is the sort of thing when Mike Tyson lost against Buster Douglas. Everyone was like, Mike's probably going to win. Even though Mike did knock him down and the count was too long. But these are the sort of things that breeds upsets, you know. And I looked on the upsets I looked on the betting odds. Yeah, last week it was like, if I put £10 on, I get 130 back. Now when I put it down, it was a 10-1. Now it's a 9-1. So I put £10, I get £100 back. So the odds are slightly shifted because of what Broner's doing. So everyone knows that maybe the upset, they don't want to be, and you know Vegas and England, they don't want to be giving out money if they don't need to. So it's on the cards for upset. I'm calling it right now. EJ Boxing Live is calling upset.
I'm really tempted to go with you there and put down some money. I'm really thinking about doing it because outside of the ring distractions, I mean, Raging Bay was talking about this on Twitter at the weigh-in. He was stark naked, bone dry, and still was a half a count overweight.
And he didn't even bother.
And immediately started chugging Pedialyte and eating. I mean, it's ridiculous. This is definitely worth putting, you know, our equivalent of 10 pounds down, that's for sure, you know, just to have a dog in the fight, see what happens. You know, the problem, though, with giving any blame, if you will, to Floyd, you know, you cannot nobody can lead you down the wrong path, you know, if you aren't willing to go there. No one can do that without your full consent. Broner has done that, but Broner has been watching the wrong things. If Broner had watched Floyd Mayweather, the businessman, the shrewd promoter, who, you know, could give Donald Trump a run for his money as far as his business sense goes, and I say that as a major compliment, who had his kind of work ethic in the ring, you know, that's the work hard, play hard. Broner just wants to play hard and play harder. It doesn't go that way.
Well, I question Trump as a businessman. I question Trump as a businessman.
Well, as I'm saying, Floyd would run rings around him. Yeah.
Yeah, but Mayweather has earned his right to do, you know, Broner hasn't. Yes, I agree he's talented, but just because, you know, someone puts their arm around you, you have to earn what Mayweather's done. I mean, I'm the least biggest Mayweather supporter ever. I mean, I don't like the guy at all, but I can't deny what he's done financially for himself in a business sense, career-wise, and the skills that he has. And Broner, although he has that talent that's there to be tapped into, hasn't earned the right to be a Floyd #2 or a Floyd baby brother. So he, in my opinion, he needs to take responsibility for his actions completely. I mean, he's a grown man. You know what? Earn your way into the books like Floyd did. Floyd's going to go down as an all-time great, and there's nothing that anybody can do about it, regardless of everything else that he's done. And Broner isn't going to go down as that.
Oh man, that's the saddest part. That's the saddest part. Broner has the potential to be not as big, not as talented as Floyd, but be somewhere in that level, and he's become instead a bad parody of him. Everything that you think bad about Floyd, Broner has exploded it to a caricature. And sadly, unfortunately, like I said, you mentioned what Raging Babe said, Mike. Broner came in half a pound overweight and did not even give a damn to even try to lose the weight or even bother to show up for the reweight. So it's obviously he doesn't care. And unfortunately, it's also the fact that he's one of Cayman's favorite fighters. He still gets a several level of favoritism from Heyman when it comes to the situation, so he never learns his lesson. Hell, when me and Joe and Francis were talking about this situation, we were actually more excited about the fact that maybe Broner was going to get arrested on the way to the ring before actually fighting.
Yeah, everyone's talking about that. Everyone's talking about that. He actually came late to the weigh-in. So when he realized he fell weight, he didn't have enough. They didn't give him enough time. I'm just speculating enough time to make the weight, but I don't think he wanted to anyway. I don't think he wanted to anyway. And you know what? He's
time.
Yeah, because he came late to the weigh-in already.
Everybody knows when the weigh-in is. He had plenty of time up to the fight
that's
starting.
What I'm saying.
That's their most important job.
That's why he didn't try and do the weight. That's why he tried to do the weight the second time. He thought, I'll forget. But this is what I'm going to say to you. He's being because of all this outside influence. This is what I call the upset. All this outside influence with the law chasing him. You know what I'm saying? He's a felon. Come like the fugitive, yeah. Like he's got a lot of things going on, man. He's got baby mother, paying stuff like that. He's just got so much things going on. And boxing, he's boxing suffering. That's what made him. It was his boxing. It wasn't his dancing. It was boxing. And he took his eye off the ball. And to be honest with you, I don't think he's gonna get it back. I think when he loses Ashley Theophane, it's gonna be a slow decline. It's sad, but that's what happens in the sport. You have a small window of success, and then all of a sudden, poof, pam, piff, it's over. And at Broner's, to be honest with you, he beats Ashley Theophane, he ain't gonna get no credit because you're supposed to. If you lose against him, you're a bum and you're done. So where you going? You shouldn't be fighting him. You shouldn't even fight that fight. It was a voluntary. Ashley Theophane wasn't even mandatory. That's because of Floyd. Floyd said to him, "Yeah, why you fight that guy?" After the contract was signed, Floyd ignores him, doesn't call it, doesn't pick up his phone calls. What do you think Floyd was gonna do? Hey, it happens, man.
We hadn't heard from Joe and Francis on this. Your thoughts about all this drama regarding Adrien Broner leading up until the Theophane fight?
Well, Adrien Broner he's obviously an idiot, but to be honest, I love it. I love the fact that this guy just can't do anything right. He shows up for the weigh-in, he can't make weight, he just starts eating, loses his belt before he even gets in the ring. He goes to Walmart, he just throws the change in the air and comes up on social media. Everyone sees the video. I mean, this guy, you hear about him getting warrants out for his arrest before his fights. I honestly love it because I think the whole boxing, I think he's a great villain for boxing. I think boxing, you need your heroes that you cheer for, but I think it also helps to have a couple villains that you cheer against. And on Friday when the fight comes, I'm going to be cheering for Ashley to whip Broner. And when Marcos Maidana knocked out or beat up on Broner, I think the whole boxing world loved every second of that fight. So honestly, I love when Adrien Broner messes up because to me it creates a great villain for the boxing world to root against.
Wow, I didn't really think of
that. Fury is a better villain.
Yeah, Fury is a villain with some honor at least.
Seriously, Fury is a better because no matter how much he talks, what can you knock in terms of what he did in the ring, especially off of what he did against Klitschko? You can't.
Yeah, can't. Absolutely. No, and the thing with Broner is he can afford smart lawyers, and here's what happens when you've got a warrant out, and I back this up by reminding you all I worked for the district attorney in our area for 8 years. So here's what happens: you got a warrant out for a guy like this, and that's issued by the district attorney or the local equivalent in the area where this happened. This is what, Cincinnati? So wherever this so-called incident happened. If you have a smart defense attorney, you hire someone local, They all know each other. He calls up the prosecutor's office and says, listen, don't spend taxpayer money chasing around to come to get him. Well, let's discuss a time where he can voluntarily surrender himself. We'll pick a date, we'll agree, and by doing so, by volunteering to come in, they also grease his skids and let him come in a back door, to get his fingerprints and his mugshot. Of course, it'll immediately hit the news, but he'll at least get in and out the door, without the equivalent of TMZ Sports on his ass. And that's going to happen, maybe Monday or Tuesday of next week. And then they go through the process of determining, are we actually going to spend taxpayer money on a trial? Are you going to own up to this? What do we got here? And it goes from there. It's just ridiculous. But nobody's going to come and snatch him from the ring. It's not worth it to him.
Gail, I got a question for you then, based on that information then. Would they give him that leeway given the fact that he is obviously a repeat offender from his juvenile days on tour?
Yeah, because juvenile records, that's fairly distant for him. It's not like that happened 6 months ago or 2 years ago. And again, a lot of it depends on you pay the right defense attorney, they make it easy, they cooperate, they talk openly with the prosecutor's office and say, listen, we have to take this through the process. And one thing your district attorney does not want to do is spend a lot of money sending investigators or, the equivalent of detectives out of state, costing money they don't really need to spend chasing a guy like this down. That's exactly what they don't want to do. Because it's not like he killed somebody, and it's not like we have somebody permanently injured for life, major fraud. I mean, in the scheme of things, of what they deal with on a day-to-day basis, he is not on the district attorney's pound-for-pound list for crimes, okay? That's not where it is. So, they would rather not have to spend money sending guys out of state to chase him down and bring him back. If a reputable defense attorney goes to the DA and says, listen, he's got this fight, where he is, I mean, everybody knows where he is. He's not a fugitive. It's not a secret. Let him have his fight. Let him finish that off. We'll bring him in Tuesday. We'll bring him in at 8:30 in the morning or, 7 o'clock at night under the radar. Are you cool with that? Yeah, I'm cool with that. And everybody goes home happy.
Okay, I'm going to go to you, Daniel, because I've been busy over the past week, so I hadn't been keeping up on all the boxing news, but you was telling me prior to the show that apparently Lomachenko Walters, that proposed bout is now off, and that Lomachenko is moving on. I don't like it, and I'll give my reason why in a few minutes, but give the reason why the fight is not happening.
Unfortunately, for the same reason we're going to see Terence Crawford on pay-per-view. It involves money. The card, that's the whole entire card that would involve Lomachenko, Walters, and Felix Verdejo because they won it on Madison Square Garden June 11th. HBO wants to pay for that whole card $1 million. Nicholas Walters wants $1 million for himself. Just for him. So Top Rank has been trying to work out a deal, trying to bring Nicholas Walters to the table because unfortunately for them, Top Rank is only their co-promoter. Walters' other co-promoter, amazingly enough, is Warriors Boxing, who up to recently has been one of the promoters that's been used by Al Heyman in the PBC. Until recently, though, there's been some news regarding documents that the Warriors Boxing is going to give Top Rank in regards to their lawsuit against Heyman that may change things, but it's mainly that. It's mainly the money coming in. It's mainly what Walters thinks, and Lomachenko was going to do everything. He was willing to go up the full 4 pounds to fight Walters at his weight. He wasn't going to make Walters go down. They weren't going to try to do a catch weight for him. So it is a little big. It's a very, very big disappointment because even though the fight would have been in Madison Square Garden, the fact that there's such a big Jamaican influence and Jamaican presence in New York City, the fact that the Ukrainians and Russians have made New York City, particularly Brooklyn, their base of operations out here, and If you're gonna have Verdejo, you're gonna get the Puerto Ricans coming in. So it was gonna be a decent card, and it was gonna be in the big house, too. It's very, very disappointing to see this happen, but it's unfortunately it's done for the money, and I don't think Aaron the movie's already gonna make with Crawford going to pay-per-view wanted to risk another pay-per-view where you're gonna have at the most so far this year by HBO alone 6 or possibly 7.
Has Walters ever made $1 million for a fight?
Nope.
So,
but
what's the closest that he's made?
I think the closest that he's made is about half that. But the issue is, unfortunately, they're calling that, I think, the Mike Garcia problem, where there's a rumor that Heyman is starting to get into Walters' ear and then asking for a lot of money, and because he's already halfway in the door with Warriors Boxing, it's an easy way to pivot. Ask for the release from Top Rank, focus exclusively on Warriors Boxing, and just jump onto the PBC.
I mean, at this point, if the guy doesn't want to fight and he's trying to get more money, I mean, I almost want to say, as much of a blow as it would be, just have Top Rank just forget about him.
EJ, Gail, your thoughts on this? Personally, I don't like the move. To me, I'm not saying that Walters deserves $1 million. I'm not sure. But you entice him with enough money to make the fight happen. Because look, HBO is you got fighters. The fact that they're only offering $1 million gate or total purse for both fighters, that annoys me, because this is one of the best fights that can be made in the sport. And when you got the competitors over at PBC giving Santa Cruz close to $1 million a fight, when you got Frampton and Quigg both making over $1 million with that fight, to me, put up the little bit of money necessary to make this fight happen. Pay-per-view, reduce it down to an HBO show. I don't care. This fight, to me, is worthy of that. And I'm disappointed that they're not going to make it happen just because Walters wants a few extra bucks. EJ, Gail, your thoughts?
I do think it's extremely disappointing. I don't know who's involved in the negotiations. I don't know if Top Rank is distracted at this point, because they've got bigger problems with the Pacquiao-Bradley 3 fight next weekend and trying to make some bank on that. They're struggling in a big way, and I'm sure we'll talk about that before the show is over. And I'm not sure that they're convinced that there's a hardcore enough fan base, salivating for that fight in the same way that fans are salivating over Vargas and Salido, for example. I'm not sure they are convinced they can make their money back. And it's a business. It is a business. So I think that they're willing to risk losing these guys because they're not willing to put their bet down.
Waters to me, it's doing this because of what happened in the last fight, and he's disgusted. And this is just my opinion; it's not a fact. He's disgusted in what happened in that fight with the draw, and Jim Anthony and stuff like that. I feel like they're trying to mess him over, oversee the weight and all these things there, and I just feel like it's a complete lack of respect. He must have sat back and listened to the commentary of Jim Lantley clowning him, and the fight, the judges as well, and he just said, "Nah, you know what? I'm getting disrespected here." So, and that's what, to me, he's playing hardball. Yeah, he seemed like he wants to get out of his contract, and it's nothing to do with Lomachenko. Obviously, we want to see that fight, but Lomachenko, you can see Lomachenko, they're having him as the A side, and he's just there to make up, and he's like, he's not having it. So I think he's really because of what happened in his last fight, and I'm not. This is not a fact or stuff like that. He's playing hardball, and if he wants to go at Al Heyman, and Al Heyman saying he'll treat him better, I don't blame him. As a fighter, you want to be treated best, and to be honest, with HBO, not really HBO, but Top Rank in general, when that draw happened, I didn't see Bob Arum coming out fighting his corner and telling you that was an outrageous scorecard, which it was. It's one of the worst decisions of last year. It was disgusting. And Jim Landy was like, oh well, you know, like you can see why he's pissed off. So I'm rolling. Huh?
And for me, here's the thing: you saw the schedule for Showtime this spring and summer in comparison to what HBO was doing. If you look at that, Showtime is going to kick their ass. So HBO needs this fight.
Exactly. That's what I'm going to say, but not treating people with the respect he deserves. So, like Lomachenko, like, go on.
But, well, EJ, though, has made a good point. I mean, there was great fanfare over Walter's return to HBO, and, you know, that was supposed to be a tune-up fight. It ends up being a draw, and it ended up being a stinky fight, and that embarrassed HBO. They're not going to put money down on that and risk seeing that again. You know, which version of Walters is going to come out? The guy that absolutely destroyed Nonito Donaire, or the guy that just sort of couldn't seem to step on the gas that we just saw? Fight. You know, which guy is it?
He won the fight clearly. He won. I hardly give the guy 2 rounds.
I agree with you that he won. He didn't win it clearly.
Yeah.
It was not a good performance.
I thought he won it. I thought he won it clearly. I thought he won it clearly, and part of the negative impression was due to the commentary throughout the fight.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He won it clearly. He won it clearly. It's just he didn't win it in the way that he did against Donaire. So that I think that's maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, Gal, but I feel like he won it clearly. But the fact that he had such a great showing against Donaire, and then he comes out and he doesn't put the guy away. I think that is maybe what we're talking about here.
But the guy's never been stopped before. The guy he's fighting has never been stopped before. Why are you gonna knock out a guy who's never been stopped before and the weight was higher? I mean, what did he won every second of every round? In my eyes, he won. I only gave the guy like 2 rounds. So what more can he do? I mean, it wasn't a stinky fight. It was an exciting fight. He was beating him to the body. But that's my opinion. So I'm just saying that's the reason why this all is happening is because of how he feel he's been treated in that last fight, which I felt that a lot of people felt it was out of order. Jim Lanty was being blatantly rude in my opinion, and the draw, Bob Arum never came out and fought his corner, so you can arguably say from that point on, that's why he's asking for $1 million. I don't blame him. So seriously, I don't even blame him. Then he wants $1 million and being tough, playing hardball.
Yeah, but I mean, these guys have to. Again, I think we talked about this before. There's levels to this. I mean, you can't. You have a good fight, and then you automatically, trying to double your purse. It doesn't work like that. Like Gail said, it is a business. I mean, they're willing to put more money, again, like a Crawford or something like that. That's going to be, active, exciting, can actually, can guarantee put butts in the seat if you put it like an Omaha or even pairing up with somebody. But, I think a lot of these, younger fighters, it's like they have one good win and then instantly they want to get paid like right away versus, kind of working their way up to get that big payday.
This is the thing.
You say
for me, let's compare. Let's when you look at, I think what EJ and I are saying, when you look at the way they was negative towards Walters and the way they went out of their way to praise Lomachenko.
Yeah, there you go.
And when you look at the fights, issue the fights themselves, was he really that exciting? He was highly skilled, yes, but he really brings season. And it wasn't like he was drawing the crowd just going out of their way, cheering all over the place when he was fighting, during his fights. So I think that's what EJ myself is saying.
I don't disagree with you guys. I'm not saying that they don't have their biases. I mean, both networks are all, they both have their bias. I mean, they some don't speak about, like we were talking about earlier, Wilder. They don't give him any credit or props. That his name doesn't come up that much. They all have their biases and whatnot. But at the, there is the other side part of it, the business stuff. So, Lampley isn't the one, whether he says or doesn't say things or or not. He's not the one that's the head of HBO that's making the decisions.
But he has a lot of influence.
Well,
I would question that. I don't know. I don't think that he's the matchmaker. He's saying, "Oh, we're gonna have this fight or not have this fight."
Yeah, but the fighter sits back and watches the fight, and he's watching it with the commentary, and he's feeling like he's being disrespected. And the thing is, it wasn't just the last fight with Nonito. He beat up Vic Darchinyan. He devastated him as well. I know Darchinyan's been knocked out. He killed Darchinyan. He killed Darchinyan, and when then they did the same thing to Nonito Donaire, and the guy he's fighting was a young, up-and-coming, tough guy, and he beat him clearly. So what I'm saying is that I'm just saying, this again is just my opinion. It's the reason why he may be playing hardball. That's all I'm saying. That's the only reason. I may feel he's being hard done by, so that's why he's playing hardball. And I think he feels like I beat these two guys. Nonito, Victor Arjun, a former motorweight champion. Nonito Donaire, a former motorweight champion. Lomachenko hasn't beat anyone of no motorweight champions. Beat Gary Russell. That's his biggest thing. He lost to Orlando Lee. So he's feeling he's disrespected. That's why he feels he wants the money. That's what I'm saying.
I know. I can see that, EJ. Like, I can definitely agree with that. But the bad part of it is, unfortunately, he would have gotten the purse if HBO didn't really have slashed the boxing budget the way it is. Because let's look at HBO's operating budget as a whole. It is between 1.6 and 1.8 billion dollars. The boxing budget this year is a little bit more than 25 million. Think about that. You're saying you're going to spend $25 million boxing out of an operating budget of $1.8 billion. That's pittance. That's pure pittance when it comes down to it. And because HBO as a network as a whole is focused on other things, because let's face it, their competition is not Showtime. HBO's competition is Netflix and Hulu right now. That's why they're building up
and their own internal competition, from Game of Thrones and John Oliver and everything else they fund that brings them a lot more money.
Look, Gail, we didn't even mention Bill Simmons. They're building a website and a whole show for Bill Simmons, which was a big hire, and they're paying him a lot of money. That money has to come from somewhere, and unfortunately, that's like I said. That's one of the reasons. That's why I wrote about it. That's why everyone looked at the reasons why Terrence Crawford, even though I think fundamentally everyone disagrees from a stepping up point that a pay-per-view should not be his next fight, but it's going to end up going to be his next fight, unfortunately, because HBO then won't be risked in paying the licensing fees, and that's going to be a lot of fights coming in this of the year. So honestly, I think if HBO would want to, they would pay Nicholas Walters that $1 million because there's enough buzz for this fight. There's enough buzz just in New York City for this fight. But at the end of the day, they're dealing with a very reduced budget. They're dealing with a new regime. And they're dealing with the fact that because of the PBC, everybody who's not playing ball with Heyman is left going with them. That's more people to split a smaller pie with.
No, and true, and they can afford to be pickier.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And EJ, I agree with you. I mean, I do feel that he is, he feels that he's being disrespected, and I'm not saying that they didn't disrespect them, but again, there's a risk reward to a lot of these decisions, right? If he says, okay, I don't want to fight for this fight because I'm not getting paid what I want, and then no one else ends up paying him, he stays on the shelf for a long time. He doesn't get the big fight that could have maybe given him some more exposure, and long term, he's not making the money that he could have if he would have, if he goes in there and he knocks out Lomachenko or something to that effect, and a spectacular win. Not only does he potentially win a championship, but he can make a name for himself by the way he wins and make more lucrative fights. But when you make decisions based off the whole respect thing, and then maybe you stay on the shelf too long, you could miss that window of opportunity, because we all know that window. You got to be in the right place at the right time with the way the business is, to get the fights that are going to mean something to your career.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right.
That's true.
Absolutely. Yeah. Normally, this is just a boxing exclusive show, We may talk MMA every now and then, but I want to move into a completely different category. I'm not just a boxing fan. I'm a heavy music fan, hip hop head especially. And in the hip hop world, we lost really a titan, a legend. It's considered that 88 to 94 is considered the golden age of hip hop. And within that time, you had a group called a Tribe Called Quest, who debuted basically smack dab within in hip hop golden age. Well, last week a member of Tribe Called Quest, Phife Dawg, passed away, succumbing to the effects of diabetes. I'm gonna go to you on this one first, EJ. Open up your mic. The big homie, Boxing Beats and Rhymes, did an excellent tribute to Phife Dawg on his channel. Not just talking about Phife Dawg, but talking about what made Tribe Called Quest, what made Tribe, you know, and talking about how Beats talked about how he really underrated Phife during his career and really didn't catch on until later on. How good of an MC, how good of a lyricist he was. Speak about the legacy of one Phife Dawg from one of the greatest hip hop groups of all time, A Tribe Called Quest.
Yeah, Phife Dawg, man, one of the arguably underestimated MC from Tribal Quest. Tribal Quest, like them and De La Soul, were in the early 90s, like kind of mid 90s, were just doing their thing. They were like kind of like, I think 89, maybe 89, come on 90s. The Tribal Quest was the type of group they really brought a real kind of sense of like, what I could say, learning in rap. You know, it wasn't so hardcore, it wasn't so extreme. It was just basically talking about like real down to earth stuff and stuff like that, real casual. It kind of like jazz kind of vibes and stuff like with Q-Tip and stuff like that. And in the UK, we were well influenced by them, and a lot of they influenced rap and everyone around them. And you know, obviously rap changed and it became a bit more aggressive. But their style of rap could go in any genre. And with Q-Tip and Phife, it just, with obviously people remember Tupac mainly and Biggie and that era. But I'll tell you what, yeah, Phife, they usually listen to them leading the new school scenario. What's the scenario back in 1992? I mean, listen, they're just doing some classic rap that you can listen to now. Well, I could anyway, around my age group. And it was just like, you know, it was really good to find out that he actually died. It hit so many people, like especially like people around the age, because it just hurt. Like, you know, this guy was, you know, pioneer, one of the pioneers of rap, of changing of the new era of rap at the time, what it was changing into, with West Indian influence, because he's from New York. And this is a shame, you know, diabetes is a real disease that hits a lot of people. And he'd be well missed. Beats done a tremendous tribute to him, being a real heartfelt. And you know what I mean? It kind of echoes sentiment that everyone else felt about Tropical Quest and the group and that. And he's gonna be sorely missed. And you know, he's, like I said, it was a great MC. Like, you sit down, you can just listen to his lyrics. They were just like, it was easy, understood, well spaced, well timed, and he was a great rapper. And like I said, he'll be surely missed, man.
People's instinctive travels. People's instinctive travels of passing rhythm in 1990, Low in Theory in 1991, Midnight Marauders in 1993, representing really the trilogy, the prime trilogy of Prime Hard Quest, and really the prime trilogy of the Golden Age. I'm just going to open it up for everybody here. A few words on the life of one Phife Dawg. Open up your mics, everybody.
Yeah, I'll go first. So again, hip hop and it hasn't been as big a part of my life as you know, maybe other genres of music, but then I mean, I'm not gonna front at all. You know, I was late to the Tribe Called Quest in general. I mean, I'm not saying like yesterday I started listening to it or when he died, but you know, I have quite a few of their albums. But I think he, against hardcore hip hop fans, he's definitely respected. Maybe against, you know, just the general public, he doesn't get his due. But you know, it's a sad thing that happened. And you know, you know, again, his music lives on. And you know, people playing it and enjoying it and remembering it. So you know, he definitely left a legacy. Tribe Called Quest is, you know, definitely one of the best rap groups that I've ever heard. And you know, he'll be missed. And but again, well, he lives on through his music. So I hope people keep on listening to him and pass that on to younger generations, because it was really good hip hop.
Gail, Daniel.
Well, I'm going to betray my age because, you know, I think a lot of people today don't realize, you know, there was a day that hip hop was not in the mainstream, not even close, and it's a tribute to artists like A Tribe Called Quest and others who just, you know, flat out, frankly, made people listen and made people appreciate the art form, and everyone else. And I know this is a loaded word these days. I mean it in all sincerity, you know, borrow and appropriate, you know, that art form, because people were introduced to it and said, I appreciate it, I like it, I respect it, and I want to be part of that. Part also of how influential somebody is when you see everybody around you mourning their passing, and when people realize, you know, it's that old cliche of you don't know what you've lost till it's gone. And there was that overwhelming sense of sadness over, did we truly appreciate this genius when he was here on Earth with us? You know, I think a lot of people would have to say, I'm not sure we did. Now he's gone and we're feeling it.
Absolutely. At age 45.
Yeah, 45. Well, yeah, and who's expecting a 45-year-old man to die? You're never ready for that. You're never ready. And that makes it all the tougher. You know, you mourn a passing of a B.B. King, but a B.B. King has, you know, a rich, long life well lived. You still miss him, but it's a different thing entirely when somebody who's in his 40s, you know, we're all of us creeping, you know, close to those ages thinking, damn, you know, I better enjoy every day above ground.
Daniel?
Oh, man, there's so much to say. There's so much to say because A Tribe Called Quest came around the same time as De La Soul, and also came around the same time as gangster rap was starting to dominate the genre. So it opened up a new avenue for a lot of people to listen to that wasn't NWA or Too Short or DJ Quick. And the influence that they had, and just in the subject matters that they talked about regular things in life. Like, one of the biggest things that you notice is if somebody passes is who really mourns it. I think one of the first people that tweeted about Phife Dawg's death in the morning was the New York Knicks. Because Phife Dawg, when you listen to his rhymes, he mainly talked about finding a girl and loving watching the New York Knicks. Just talking about regular things, like when it at around the time in hip hop when that wasn't supposed to be a normal thing to do. But A Tribe Called Quest in general has such a big influence on a lot of things. If it wasn't for A Tribe Called Quest, we wouldn't have Busta Rhymes. Like EJ mentioned, the Scenario song, we would not have Busta Rhymes if it wasn't for Tribe Called Quest, the leaders of the new school with Scenario. There's the fact that they laid a foundation for acts like Outkast, acts like Bahamadia, Shabaam Sadiq, and other
Black
artists.
Most definitely Talib.
Yeah. Talib Kweli, Mos Def, Black Star. Black Star, to me, the way they wrote their rhymes and then their subject matter could be considered a legitimate successor to A Tribe Called Quest. Listen to that album. Like, if you don't know who Black Star was, go pick up that album. It is a masterpiece, and it falls pretty well with the influence that Tribe Called Quest laid in New York. And in New York, in general, in hip hop, they lost a lot of people. Like a few months before, New York Underground actually was really sad because Sean Price died too.
Yeah.
And Sean Price, if you don't know me, it's like he was a member of Boot Camp Click, Helter Skelter, and just was one of the most pure MCs that you're going to see. He took his craft seriously. Like Phife Dawg took his craft seriously. And now like I said, we've lost two of them. Phife Dawg is going to be missed a lot because unfortunately there's not a lot of him in a lot of a type called Quest in hip hop nowadays. It's unfortunately being fairly dominated by other factors, but it's good to see people remember who he was. Hopefully more kids now will pick up Low End Theory, listen to it, appreciate it, and maybe not go in the Fetty Wap or Soulja Boy direction. Maybe focus more on Tribe Called Quest.
And Drake.
Yep. And I'm not going to touch on Drake because, first of all, what Drake did to Meek Mill showed that he's actually a student of the game.
No, it doesn't. I'll get on that later, but no, it doesn't.
Dude, he came back at him. He
That
came
was-
back at him with dude. He was more student of the game than Meek Mill was. in that instance.
That wasn't real beef. That was tofu.
Oh no, yeah, it's not no cannabis or LL. I'll give you that, yeah. But unfortunately, the standards have been lowered, Mike.
That's
Unfortunately,
my point. In 2016, that was considered real beef when really it wasn't. It wasn't.
no. But hopefully, like I said, with Phife Dawg, or like I said, with people now giving love to Phife Dawg, with people have been giving love to Sean Price, maybe they'll pick up the albums that now look like vintage classics because they're over 20 years old. Listen to it and realize how timeless it is.
I mean, for me, you listen to People's Instinctive Travels. Tribe was criticized for the album, particularly Phife, especially that he didn't have no skills. He wasn't a real MC. You listen to Low End Theory. Throughout that album, it was a clapback from Phife. Throughout, clapback at the critics, within the industry and out. And starting from there, and particularly on Midnight Marauders, where he just showed his ass and talked about and really showed how much of a craftsman he was in terms of the art of emceeing and lyricism. To Beat's point, was he a red man? No, but he was far from garbage. Last thing before I end the show, and everybody will get my stuff, because this is a $64,000 question. Which album was better, Low End Theory or Midnight Marauders?
I don't know, man.
You see, you gotta think though. You gotta think.
I'm gonna go Midnight, but it's a tough one.
Yeah, I know, man. I'll pass on that, but
Oh man, you're playing Russian roulette there, Mike. With that one.
What do you got, Mike?
The judges are scoring it a draw, Mike.
I mean, I asked it on social media. Most folks went with Midnight Marauders. It's tough. I might have to go with Midnight. I might have to go slightly with Midnight Marauders, just because of electric relaxation. Just because of the controversial, excuse my language here, at the time and still now, the controversial sucker ass nigga. Because of lyrics ago, that puts it slightly over the top. And the production-wise was just so ahead of its time on Midnight Marauders. See, for me, when I look at the trilogy of Tribe, the People Instinctive album, the Low End Theory album, and the Midnight Marauders, any Prince snob knows that Parade, Sign of the Times, and the Black Album were his trilogy. To me, the trilogy from Quad Tribe, that's the hip-hop equivalent of the Prince Tribe. And that to me, that says it all about how good Tribe was and how impactful Tribe was.
Oh man.
I mean, I like the way that Midnight Marauders kind of flows. It's basically, I love albums that you can listen front to back. You're not just looking out after one track, or you're always going to that one track, but you can literally listen to it front to back. It's like a whole experience from the beginning to the end.
And those are rare in hip hop. Unfortunately, those are rare, very, very rare in hip hop.
It's rare in all music. It's rare in all music.
It's rare today. It's rare in the download era.
Yep.
In the album rock era, each song was a chapter of a book, and you read the book, the whole book.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I think we're going to shut the show down on that note. And if you're listening to it via podcast, I began the show, bumping some Tribe, and I'm going to close down the show, pumping some Phife Dawg. So definitely, R.I.P. Phife Dawg. He will definitely be missing. You check out the hashtag R.I.P. Phife and R.I.P. Phife Dawg on Twitter. It's ongoing still. So yeah, absolutely. Where people are throwing up stuff. I've been throwing up music and really the week for the entire week now. So again, he will without a doubt be missed. I'm gonna go around now, hang out here, and ask folks and let folks get the opportunity to talk about what they're doing and whatnot. Since you was late, Gail, ladies first. Gail, for all the communities, digital news, folks want to talk about this or anything else that folks can find me.
My column is Ringside Seat, and it runs on Communities Digital News, a native online news website, which is all sorts of news, but ignore the Donald Trump shit. Just read my column. You can get around the rest of it. I promise it won't sully you. And that website is COM, C-O-M-M, Digi, D-I-G-I News, comdiginews.com. You know, the fight scene's heating up in Southern California and Vegas, and that's where I center most of my coverage.
And I'm mistaken. I said sucker ass nigga. Everybody knows that song is sucker nigga from Midnight Marauders. It's still controversial, but again, if you heard it, you can understand what Q-Tip was saying. EJ Boxing Live joins us live from the UK for folks who want to talk boxing or anything else that folks want to look at each other.
Yeah, EJ Boxing Live. You can catch me on Twitter, catch me on YouTube, and yeah, man, I'll be covering the Martin Joshua fight the whole week. Also, you can check out my weigh-in videos from the Eubank and Blackwell fight, going up to the fight, and videos and stuff like that. As we're doing pretty well. Me and Umar, we made kind of controversy statements on the fight and after the fight. We didn't think that was gonna happen. Let's put it that way. So if you want to check out some controversial stuff there, you'll check that out. But yeah, man, that's how you can catch me: Twitter and YouTube, EJ Boxing Live.
And also, if you want to check out EJ Boxing Live, he has the entire press conference from Eubank Senior and Eubank Junior a couple days after the Nick Blackwell fight. So if you want to see in its entirety, please go to EJ Boxing Live, his YouTube channel.
And you don't want to miss his sit down with the Furies. Excellent work.
Oh yeah.
You enjoyed that one? It was funny.
Great.
Oh man, they're a hoot. They're a hoot, man.
Yeah, they're hilarious.
It was riveting. You don't want to miss that. Yeah, well worth it.
Yeah, that was all the good time. Just before the bad stuff. Hours before. Yeah, that was good. That was funny. I hope to sit down with them. Chewy as well. They're hilarious. But, yeah, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, I mean, you're sitting there in a restaurant and there's the window behind them, and you see Wembley in the background, and this is fantastic stuff.
Absolutely. Join us live from the West Coast. Long-time fan and supporter of Boxing Report, Jacob Rivera, for folks who want to talk boxing and whatnot. Let the folks know where to hit you out.
Yeah, I can be found on Twitter at JRATM23. And also on my websites that I do with some other Twitter fans, so shout out to them. But I actually got an interview with Sullivan Barrera, right before the Ward fight. So I posted that, and then we do a couple of retrospective series where we look at controversial decisions, and we each kind of give our take on it round by round. So rewatching the fights, and not trying to get any other outside influences, but follow the show, follow Pound for Pound Boxing Report, give it a review on iTunes, give it a subscribe so you can get the clicks. EJ Boxing Live, of course, the guy does good work over there. Gail, always doing good stuff. I know she has vast interest, Dancing with the Stars, Game of Thrones, and all that stuff. But she's a good follow, and I see her at the fights locally here live. I'll be going to the Golovkin fight at the Forum. I'll be going to the Berto Ortiz fight at the StubHub, and then also the Salido Vargas fight at the StubHub. So, and then of course Sunday show with Daniel. He does a good show with For Boxing News.
All right, Daniel Carpio joins us live from NY. For folks who want to talk boxing or anything else, that the folks know where to find you.
All right, folks. You can find me on Twitter at Ruckus99. Like I said, talk a lot of boxing. I do talk a lot of basketball too. Like I said, you can also catch my writings over at the Inscriber magazine. I'm most likely going to do a critical reading on the Thomas Hauser series that came out last week regarding Al Heyman. Just trying to break it down for both sides. And like Jacob said, every Sunday night I have a show with Joe and Francis for Boxing News. We talk the latest boxing topics, whatever news comes up during that time. And like I said, we had a hoot last week when we were talking about Adrien Broner. I think that was the only thing we were looking forward to, just seeing him get arrested on the ring walk.
Absolutely.
You guys are funny.
I would pay such good money to see him cuffed on the way to the ring, turn the ring walk into a perp walk.
That's funny, man. That sounds like some wrestling gimmick. Talking about that, man, WrestleMania is coming up on Sunday, man. I'm gonna be watching it. That sounds like some wrestling gimmick.
Oh man.
Oh, any port in a storm, man.
Well,
wanted to also say, Mike, I know it was your birthday last week. I hope you had a good birthday. And, again, I know we touched on this earlier, but prayers go out to the Blackwell family and hopefully a speedy recovery.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to thank Francis and Joe from 4Boxing News for joining us. They have to dip out. If you want to check out information about them, just go to 4Boxing News on Twitter. That's the number 4Boxing News, all in one word. The site is 4boxingnews.com. That's the number 4boxingnews.com. Also want to thank Jake Dill for joining us. Dill Town on YouTube and G+. He has a lot of fight videos that he posts up, analysis of fighters from back in the day and current events and current fighters of the day. His video about Adrien Broner was a real talk for sure. And if you want to check him out on Twitter, you can just go to JDillPatriot on Twitter to find out information on yours truly. You know what it is, Brother JR on Twitter at BrotherJR76. Where I talk boxing and politics and food and music and just about everything else in between. If you want to find out more information about Boxing Report, again, go to the blog page, p4pboxingreport.wordpress.com. Just look to the right of the blog page. You can find us all over social media, all over the interwebs, Facebook, G+, YouTube, Twitter, Tumblr, Pinterest, the RSS feed. If you want to check us out there, Stitcher Radio, Flipboard Magazine, SoundCloud, iTunes, with us. The email address p4pboxingrpt@gmail.com. And to follow up what Jacob said, be a friend, be a pal, be a buddy. Leave a review on iTunes, on Stitcher Radio, see what we're doing right with the show, how can we improve with the show. Next episode, Compound Box Report, we will do a recap of Broner Theophane. We will also do a full-scale preview of Pacquiao Bradley, the trilogy. On the undercard of that is Arthur Abraham fighting Gilberto Ramirez, and big heavyweight bout that's happening, intriguing heavyweight bout that's happening. Anthony Joshua, Charles Martin heading to England to defend the belt. Online, it's going to be aired live on Showtime. On the undercard of that, Lee Selby, Eric Hunter, so we'll be talking about all those bouts. For Gail Falkenthal, for EJ Boxing Live, for Daniel DiCaprio, Jacob Rivera, Francis and Joe from 4Boxing, Jay Dill, I'm your host Michael. This has been another episode of our Boxing Report. Again, best wishes and well wishes to Nick Blackwell and R.I.P. Phife Dawg. Everybody, have a good evening. Good night.
Night.
Good night.